Shadowboxing with Filthy and J-Dog.
And we're back and live while Filthy figures out his 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 settings. It's good. It's great. Everyone's doing fine. We're doing fine here. All right. All right. Let's go. So we are finally ready to do shadowboxing. So the transition would have been fantastic, except that Discord, for whatever reason, doesn't play nice if I don't give it the first turn, basically, with my face. And what I mean by that is, if I have Streamlabs open at all and it's recorded like at all, it doesn't even have to have my camera engaged. If I have it open at all and then I open up Discord and try to use my camera on it, it like won't show anything. It just won't activate the camera. So I have to close out of Streamlabs and then launch the video in Discord and then reopen Streamlabs, which normally is not a problem because normally we just start with the podcast. However, tonight I had to lose a very unfortunate game because of my own dumb antics, as we've discussed off camera at length. And
Sometimes you gotta let your buddy know he's just being salty.
sometimes you do. And sometimes you gotta be a better listener than you are sometimes. I don't know.
There we go. That's it. That's what you took from that conversation. I will take that.
I was talking about you.
Well, fuck. Maybe we need to have another conversation. We'll save that for off camera after.
All right. Yeah, we'll be right back. Not at all. All right. All right. Yes, we're done, Shane. That's been very well documented. If you're just figuring this out now, that's on you. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, it's not our fault you're late to that party.
That's narcissism and gaslighting 101. Is being like, yeah, we're dumb, and it's your fault for not knowing that already.
Yeah, like, who are you to be so brave to be this late?
Right. How dare you not know what everyone else already knows? Also, so I guess I could theoretically just like scroll through menus from my Streamlabs. But there we go. My primary monitor wasn't switching. That was lame. All right, so this episode's going to be basically a playoffs episode. Yes, we are talking about playoffs. Also, I should change my audio in Discord, huh? So that way you're hearing what the people will
You
hear.
weren't ready for any of this, were you?
I was ready for some of it. Not nearly enough, but some.
I can tell. Okay, and probably the people can tell too. Which is,
Well,
I mean, on par and not new.
Again, we just said this isn't new at all. It's the standard. That's why we set the bar where we did. So that way when a show goes flawlessly, people are like, wow, look at that. That's what it could be. So this is a playoff episode. We're just not in the playoffs. And I say that because it's... so seeding, I think, could be affected. And I think that's the only thing. Pretty sure everybody that's in is in, everybody that's out, right? And we already had a helping hand that was shared with us by Hive. Disable streamer mode. I really was not prepared for any of this. My Discord straight up is not loading text chats right now.
That's fine. Which
there
one do
it
you
is.
need?
There it is. Now I got you. Okay, so everything is set. Wow, is that true? Like that's even seeds are set? I guess that must be right. All right. So everything is set except for looks like there is a winner takes all game for the NFC, which is demonstrably worse than the AFC, by the way. I was looking at the standings and I was like, damn, I'd still be in the playoff hunt even at 9-7 in the NFC. Or maybe I would be, maybe I wouldn't, but I would have been a week ago and I wasn't in the AFC. So suck it, NFC. You're the worst conference. You do have the winningest team, but whatever. That's a different conversation.
I was gonna say like we'll get into that. I have my feelings about the NFC.
Yeah. We can see chat on this side anyway. Yeah, that's right. You should be able to see chat for... Can you read that fairly clearly as well, or should that be made bigger? Shane, just let me know. So yeah, we're gonna go through the standings, basically just like what's going on in terms of the the playoffs. And even though again we're not in the playoffs just yet,
That
it's
woman is gonna knit a baby.
baby
That was
James.
Shane, so.
What?
What?
What happened?
So everybody, this is our guest for this episode. It's my wife. She's mostly gonna be knitting a pillow, watching Netflix, and like putting the final cookings on a baby. Shane said hi, stop hooking. Are you crocheting? Oh, that's right. Yeah, crocheting. Dude, I fucking know this too. You
What's
don't knit.
what's the difference between knitting and crocheting? Are they not the
What
same
is
thing?
what is the difference between knitting and crocheting?
I thought I had some knitting needles over here. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's not even close to an answer to the question.
So those are knitting
This
needles?
is a crochet hook.
Oh, so that's why you're a hooker.
Man, if she could reach you. All right. Jesus Christ. How does this always devolve immediately into shit that's not even remotely related to the league?
That's, I feel like, what the first like 6 to 7 minutes of this podcast usually are, just pointless rambling until we actually get into what we're here to talk about.
That's fair. Oh man, should we do? Do you have anything? You don't have anything to shoot, do you?
I do not.
Short-sightedness, whatever. I'll do it. Shane. Let's do a shot per topic change. That can't. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Oh, see, I knew he'd be down. He's supporting me from afar. I've got tequila to shoot too. I've got a whole fifth of tequila that my sister's like, "Do you want this?" And I was like, "Oh, yes." I'm like, this is Altos tequila. What is wrong with you? She's like, "I don't drink tequila." And I was like, "Again, I say, what is wrong with you?" Anyways, all right. So playoffs. Talking about playoffs. Playoffs.
Talk about playoffs.
While we're looking, I don't know. Maybe we should focus on the only game that's left to be played that actually matters for the playoffs, unless they've already played it since that post.
They have not.
Fucking sexy. So, whoops, wrong schedule. If you just hit square there, it takes you to the team schedule. I want to go to the NFL schedule. We have, in Week 18, a real winner-take-all game between the 49ers and the Seahawks. These teams are tied at 8-8. The winner of this game in Week 18 wins the division and goes to the playoffs. The loser gets to pack up their shit and go home. So, I'm personally in love with playoff games. Like, I love Week 18 games that affect the playoffs. Like, seeding is kind of lame, but it matters a little bit. Whether you get into the playoffs or not, I love those games in Week 18. And, like, if it's for the division and, like, the loser just doesn't get to, the winner goes to the playoffs and the loser isn't in at all, like, I love those. And I'm trying to look through game times right now to see. Fuck! I'm gonna be at work. I'm gonna call out. I'm not going to, but Niners Seahawks is tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern. If you're watching this at 7:30 Eastern time, Niners Seahawks, you are going to want to watch that game. That is going to be the best game you're going to see this week. Well, it might not be the best game you see this week, but it's definitely going to be the one that has the most on the line. So, Niners Seahawks on December 21st at 7:30 Eastern time. Don't miss out on that because that's going to be must-watch football. So, want to really highlight that for Lance and Philly. I think that'll be an awesome game, so everyone should check that out. And also, good on them for actually having the game scheduled a good game time so that everyone can know about it, be put on notice about it. And I would assume we're going to have great numbers in whoever streams that game. That's going to be, depending on how much they stream, that should probably be their most viewed stream, like, ever. Like, again, if they stream a bunch and have other things going on, maybe not. But, like, if they mostly just stream for Madden. I mean, when I started streaming, I only streamed for Madden leagues like that. And I only did it because it was a rule, right? That's kind of how I started. And so if they're like me when I started,
It's
they should.
exactly the same.
Right.
I did this shit for years solely because I had to for leagues.
Yeah.
So, like, when I started streaming, I had like 50, 60 something fucking followers.
Right. Just people that had randomly followed from different leagues you weren't in shit.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I started, people would hop in and be like, "Oh, you're doing other things now?" Like, good times. All right, so what do you want? How do you want to do this? You want to just talk about the different conferences, the playoffs? I feel like this could just be a playoffs episode. Frankly,
Yeah.
I
I
think,
mean, we could do the playoffs. We could quickly run through, like, just some, like, quick statistical stuff. Works
yeah,
for me.
cool.
All right, but why don't we get into it then? Why don't we start with the NFC? I feel like we always start with the AFC, and I want to kind of start on the other side of the board. So,
This is our signature move. Don't we do this for the playoffs? We're like, all year we've been talking about the AFC first. Let's start with the NFC. I want to say I was looking at this screen the last time we did the playoffs. We did the same thing. But no, either way, I agree. I love it. It'll be really, oof. Dude, I'm just looking at. I've got the just the bracket up right now, and it's fascinating to me to see some of these teams and where they're slotted. Like, again, this podcast has been a love letter to Doc all year, and he's the 6th seed. Like,
I mean, hey, dude, Jonesy's handled business all season, man. He's the number one seed for the reason, and I mean, the dude went 15-1, ran through that shit.
yeah,
The
what?
only loss he had too was on, I think, like, was on a sim.
Yeah, it was a forced loss. They
Yeah.
couldn't play, but I mean, like, and we will break it down, but like. Jonesy being the 1, that doesn't surprise me so much as seeing Doc at the 6, Bloom at the 5, even though he'd been competing with Jonesy for that division and for the top. But, because again, if you look at actual conference standings, he's probably number 2. But he didn't win his division, so he can't be any higher than 4. Or any higher than 5. He can't be within the top 4 because he didn't win his division. To see Wine come up there with the Falcons, charging up to the second
Falcons
seed.
were in a good spot, yo, and Wine took him over and ran with him. And like he's done his job, man, and he's handled his business. So I'm kind of interested to see because I feel like the Falcons are going to be a player in the NFC for the rest of this cycle as long as Wine's controlling them.
You know what, though? We fucked up because we're talking about Wine in the first 15 minutes of the podcast, and he ain't used to that, so he's probably not even tuned in yet. He's always got to wait until the very end to hear about himself. All right, well, go ahead and break it down a little bit more. I'm going to go grab that tequila because that's downstairs, so I'll be back in like a minute. But if you want to go ahead and just give me... There he is. He's here. He's here.
I'm here.
If you want to just give me what your thoughts overall, top to bottom, on what the seating is, and then I'll be back in just a minute, and I'll be able to hear it the whole time.
So, kind of looking at this seating, I mean, it's no surprise. Like, we've been talking about it all year that Jonesy's been on this tear, and he takes the 1 seed, and he's going to be sitting on a first-round bye. So, we'll see which of the lower seeds wins their games from there and ends up having to go over to Washington and play him. So, Wine versus Lando, Lando snuck in at the very, very end, yo, and it's kind of surprising to me to see the Lions there in year 2. Like, usually that roster takes a little bit more time to build, and I believe he's doing it with, like, I think he's doing it with Ryan Tannehill or some shit like that. I have to go look at that real quick to confirm that, because I know it's not Goff. Goff's been gone. We played earlier this year. That was a game where Burrow got hurt, like, on the first drive, and my backup came in and honestly did fucking work and saved me in that game because I thought I was absolutely fucked. So yeah, no, he's been doing it with Tannehill all year, yo. So Ryan Tannehill getting it done for the Lions, securing them a playoff spot. Overall, though, I don't think the Lions are gonna get it done here. I think the Wine's too good of a user, and he's got that Falcons team rolling hot. So in my mind, the 2's going to move on here. I don't see the Lions coming up with that win. So I almost said Jonesy because he was the Packers all last cycle. And no. So Rice, we're going to have a rematch of Rice and Doc. So I know they played earlier on in the season. It was a decent matchup. I know Doc had that Saints team rolling hot, and then he lost a couple of games. I think he lost both to Wine. I know he lost the earlier matchup to Rice. I want to see kind of how that one ended up going. Let's take a quick look at that.
I didn't see against who, and I'll go to that schedule in just a second here, but I do know that Doc is coming into the playoffs on a 3-game losing streak. That's never ideal.
Yeah, so he lost to Wine 27-20, and then he lost 20-17 to Rice. So that's going to be a really good matchup to see again. Is going to be him and Rice playing each other. Wow, he did lose his last 3. He lost to Noobs 59-38. He lost 35-28 to Doc or to Wine, and then lost to Jonesy 31-13.
And honestly,
Honestly,
taking a
man,
turn.
That's just a super rough finish, though. Like,
It's not even just his last 3. It's 5 of his last 6.
Yeah, 5 of the last 6, man. That's a rough way to end the season. But it's kind of like, when you got Jameis as your quarterback, man, I've used guys like that, and it's either he's hitting or you're fucked.
Right. That's fucking brutal, man. That's just a terrible way to go in the playoffs. But exactly. So okay. Well, I don't know. For all the times that we've had him on, has he talked about? Has he said that about Jameis as well? I don't even remember.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, that's right. Because he's like, yeah, Jameis give.
I've heard this.
So I mean, what if he busters out? Let's say he just loses to a formidable opponent who he has lost to in the regular season. So it's not
only by a field goal, but he has lost to.
Well, exactly, only by a field goal. Hey, guess what? A loss is a loss. A win is a win. It was a loss for him. So let's say that happens. Do we just like super reactively say he just needs a new quarterback? Like,
I mean, I think he's going to target that anyway, just by like the conversations he's had with us on the podcast. I don't think Jameis is the long-term answer there. I don't think Jameis is his style of quarterback for the offense he runs either, to be completely honest with you. So no. I think he's going to target. I know he's going to target a more mobile guy. 100%.
Yeah,
like
they're nice to have.
It's read option, it's an RPO guy. Like it's a very, very interesting offense, man. Like that's why I watch a lot of Doc's games, because I like to see how it ticks and how it works. That, and if I ever have to run across him, it's nice to know how it ticks and how it works.
Oh, 100%.
But I think that's part of the issue, man, is I don't think Jameis is the dude. Like, and I think that's part of the thing he's starting to run into. One is he's got good competition in that division, and his quarterback's going to hold him back for right now until he can get Jameis replaced. Ain't no LASIK surgery fixing that man in game, I'll tell you that.
That was for you, by the way, Shane. Delicious.
So as of right now, and this is what's interesting to me moving on to the next playoff game, right? So as of right now, you would have the Seahawks, and you would have Bloom King. So this could roll a completely different way, though, right? If the Niners win this, they bump into the 4 because they move that division. Once again, the game's at 7:30 Eastern tomorrow, guys. Make sure you turn it in. I want you guys to blow that stream up. They're probably going to just be like, I remember how they're going to be sitting there with the controller watching the thing in the top right corner go dink, 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 dink on their one screen. Like, what the fuck's going on?
Their setup can't handle the bandwidth.
So that's the one thing here that could really, really change between this podcast, obviously, for those who are watching it live tonight, and for those who watch the recorded version of it tomorrow. That's the game that could change here drastically. Now, I played the Seahawks, man, and I feel like he's having a lot like the same kind of season I'm having. Offense is firing, like it's going. And defenses can't stop a kid on a red fucking tricycle. We had a game that I won by a field goal. That's exactly how that went. We were just back and forth on each other up and down the field, scoring points, putting up yardage.
Yeah, 100%.
Here, just because I know I'll have quick access to it. What was the actual final score of that game?
Which game? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a 49-46 victory for me. But, like, holy shit, the amount of offense going back and forth in that game. Like, 566 total yards for me, 442 for him. He had 391 through the air. Like, dude's got an offense. The only problem is that Seahawks defense is they're not stopping anybody right now. So it's like you get him in a shootout, you got to get the ball last and you got to score, or you just make a couple more plays on defense and hopefully that's enough to get it done for you.
That kind of feels like like if I'm picking a team, if I'm picking an 8-8 team that has to play Bloom, I kind of want a team that's gonna just get you in a shootout. Because that's the thing. Obviously, Bloom is gonna put up a bunch of points. He has throughout the rest of the season. That's what I was gonna check right now. Actually, was the team stats for yards.
That's something I want to
offense,
get
and shit.
into after we talk about the playoffs because the team stats are one of my favorite parts about this game. One of the other things I want to see real quick.
Yeah. So like, in terms of holy shit, this is amazing.
They did play though, I will say, and Bloom got the best of them, 43-14, the last time they did play.
Okay, that's fair. Maybe he learned. That man,
Well, it's possible.
I wish
It's
I didn't.
very possible.
I wish I didn't know that. That kind of spoils it because I'm like, oh shit, dude, they're so close in points per game. Bloom is at 33.3, Lance is at 32.3. And again, all of this assumes that the Niners don't make it, right? Who knows? Anything could happen in that last. Philly's got, and he's sitting there at 28.1. So all of that is decent. Although I do think that the 49ers are in the bottom half, just barely in the NFC. But in any case, should be a fun game to watch if that's the game, right? Like you completely flip the script if it ends up being the 49ers instead. Regardless, I think it's safe to say we'd both be surprised. All credit that should be given to the team that makes the playoffs. I think we'd both be surprised if Bloom doesn't beat either one of those teams, right?
No, I mean, in my mind, Bloom's going to take that game. That's no offense to those two in the NFC West. You guys have fought tooth and nail. I mean, you're fighting for a spot in the playoffs in Week 18, but you're going up against a really good user, man, and he knows how to work with that Dallas team. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Bloom move on there, which would, if I'm looking at it correctly, I think that would send Bloom to meet up with Jonesy in the second round, and then it would be Winekilla versus Rice.
Unless Doc or Orlando pull an upset, that would be right. But it seems
unless Doc Orlando or pull it. But like the way we're picking, unless you have something you disagree with here, you think it would be Bloom, Jonesy, then Rice and
then
Rice and Wine.
I do think because it was a field goal between Rice and Doc, right?
Yeah.
And I'd still pick Rice to win. He's got the home field advantage. He already
I think
won.
I see a hill off in the distance.
No. Look at that on the horizon. That's a hill that J-Dog will die on. No. I won't go that far, but I will say that's the one that would surprise me the least, right? If it happened.
If there was an upset that would be the one that would surprise me the least. But I'm going to go with Rice. I'm going to go with the guy who's got the quarterback. He's still got Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. So as long as he comes out with Rodgers and he's dealing, he's got a really good chance.
In real life and in Madden, if you're picking between Aaron Rodgers and Jameis Winston, you're picking Aaron Rodgers.
Winekilla is going with Doc getting the win there.
Winekilla says that Doc is going to win straight up. So that's the Wine. Would you say that's a hill that you're willing to die on? Or how confident are you in this? I'd say pretty confident. Just straight up, Doc will win. He says, "Yeah, all right, there you go. See, it's a cult following. Now I'm inducing other people to die on hills. So what am I like? Am I Nixon now? Am I?" Go take that hill. But sir, it's in Vietnam. We don't even belong here. I said, go take that hill.
I said, go take the hill.
Yeah, so I think it definitely... Doc will have a great memory of last game. Yeah? Will he? Or will he not? They were both one-score games. So Keller got the best of Doc twice, but they were both one-score games. And so I'm sure Doc will. Shit, one-score games are like just the worst. Because you think about all the different... You get blown out, you're like, well, I just played like shit, or, you know, whatever else. But, like, one-score games, you're like, shit, man. So many, like... There's, like, so many one-play moments that it's like, if that had gone the other way, it'd be a different story. But, yeah, I agree. I'd have to pick. Okay, so divisional round then would be Jonesy versus Bloom, which I want to say we have seen that before, and Wine versus Rice, which we have definitely not seen before, right? I don't think we have. I don't think we have. Am I wrong?
I don't believe so, but I know they've played in other leagues, I believe, together, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
Like if they had.
Wine
No,
says he's never played him. Okay.
Really?
That would be
Okay.
interesting. That'd be really interesting.
That would be a good matchup. That would be something I would definitely be interested in seeing should it happen, but
Right.
it really just depends on how that rolls, yo.
Jonesy and Bloom was last season too as well. That's right. And actually last season, Jonesy was the wild card seed, right? And
Mhm.
they played in. Did they play in the wild card round or the divisional? No, wasn't Bloom the was he the one seed last year? I thought
Yeah,
he was.
100% was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And Jonesy came in just like, I think it was a pretty dominant like statement win in that game. Or it was, I don't know. My memory is garbage, but I remembered at least that they played in the divisional round. So yeah, we'll see. He's gonna have all of the momentum. I think Jonesy will. I think, and that's the thing. A lot of times, you run into that situation where the team that gets the bye actually gets hurt by it because they run into a team that's got more momentum than they do. But obviously, video games are different. I don't think that's completely to be ignored. I still think that there is something to... I think that a player can feel more confident with some momentum behind them from a win, even behind the sticks versus playing a physical game. I think you can still have that confidence factor going into a divisional round where you won the wild card. Let's say it was a convincing win. And you're like, all right, yeah, no, I can go toe-to-toe with this guy. Especially if it's somebody that you feel like you've played well before. But I just don't think that Jonesy's going to have an issue with not feeling confident due to any one of a number of reasons. So I don't know. But that would be interesting. It's just like... It'd be almost tragic, though, if it's Jonesy and Bloom again in the divisional round. Because it in the same conference, it kind of like evokes the Brady Manning years when they were both in the AFC. Except that those guys were playing in AFC championship games. And so once it's like, I'd like to see that play out in the NFC championship game. But we'll see. And of course, it's a whole lot of talk. The number 2 seed being Wine, who knows? Maybe he's going to be the guy that's one of the main state rivals, too. Jonesy or Bloom or Rice if he next year gets higher than the 3 seed or whomever.
I think the thing Rice has got to worry about is if Aaron Rodgers walks away after this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much time do you really got left to ride that train?
Well, and it's not like Rodgers is going to get any better. Like... He might get, I don't know. Does he regress? How hard does he regress? I know I've seen, again, when we've talked about this, I've seen random franchise pictures like 5 years in with Rodgers or Brady, and their stats they're like a 73 overall. Still an X factor.
Yep. You're right.
I can do it still.
No, you can't, Grandpa. Sit down.
Right. It's okay. How did he get out of the home?
How did he get out of the fucking home?
All right, so... I feel like that... I don't want to go too much into what would be the matchups beyond that, just because I think we'll probably have another episode to cover it. So, is there anything else you want to say about the NFC before we move on to the AFC?
No, I mean, good job to the people that made the playoffs in the NFC. We'll determine the last one of you tomorrow, and I guess we'll see where it goes from there. But, I mean, 6 out of 7 of you have been invited to the dance, so... Well, go on and do it. Let's see who ends up. Representing the NFC.
And in the playoffs, truly anything can happen, right? Everybody can have a bad game. Everybody can have a cerebral game where they're just seeing it the way they never have before. So once you're here, anything could happen. All right, so for the AFC then, it's definitely did. Yeah, the AFC East sent 3 teams to the playoffs. We talked about this early on. We were pretty confident it'd be the AFC North that sent 3 teams. I thought I'd be one of them. I was not. It didn't. It fell apart at the end there. Had a good run in the middle of the season, but either way, I always knew it'd be the AFC East or the AFC North that was going to send 3 teams, and they'd be the East. So, an impressive showing there for the division. Who did the NFC send 3 teams from any one division? No.
No, it doesn't appear like they did.
No. So, yeah, that's we've got, of course, the Broncos are sitting high and mighty at number 1. That was Doink last year, right? I want to say it was Jason move, right? With the Bills.
Yes.
He's number 1. But we got the Broncos sitting at number 1. Get that first round bye. You had a phenomenal season this year. You're sitting at the 2 seed. Looks like you're slated to play Noobs in the wild card round. That should be a good game. Have you guys played?
Yeah. Yeah, we played. Yeah, we played. He actually fucking dumpstered me. I don't know. Sometimes you can just hold down triangle and spin in circles around the line of scrimmage and you'll get interceptions. I guess that's just the way the game rolls sometimes. So, no, I'll be looking forward to that one. That's going to be a game. That's going to be a game, and I'm very, very determined to make that a lot better game than it was the last time. So I beat him in season 1. I know it's doable, but yeah, after my last showing, I'm definitely not going to take it lightly this time around. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Nor should you. Nor should any of us. It's the playoffs. Like I said, anything could happen. Who knows how we got here?
Mm-hmm. Well, and like I said, man, that's kind of when I was running with that old playbook too. Like I've kind of switched some things up, and I'm a lot more comfortable with what I'm doing now, and I feel like that's gonna make the difference. But we're gonna have to, if I can't get my defense to make some fucking plays and get some stops, dude, it could be a very, very early exit for me.
Heard. Well, we'll be interested to see it. You had a great offense this year, so be interesting to see what you can do with that. The next matchup looks really good as well. The Bills and the Dolphins. We got Doink versus Shane. An AFC East battle in the wild card round. I think they split the season series. Or did Shane beat him twice?
No, they split. So Shane got him the first time, and then Doink got him the second time.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So there you go. And then he says division winner 3 seed.
Oh, so that will flip, but doesn't it just flip Doink down to the 6, so the game still matches?
Oh, yeah. Okay. You're the division winner, so you'll be the 3 seed. But yeah, it doesn't. It's the same game. The only thing. So I guess technically. So, man, gymnastics. So now that he's the 3, if Chalk wins, he'd play you. If he won this matchup the way seeding is now, he'd play Coach and the Broncos. So that's the difference. The difference is, since he won the division, if he wins and you win, he gets to play you. And then, I don't know, there's a whole lot of other things that could happen. If Noobs beats you, then God only knows what goes on. But,
I'm
yes.
gonna lose my fucking mind.
Yes. There'll be at least a 1-day delay on the recording of this podcast. There'll be a mandatory 24-hour cooldown period. So yeah, Bills, man, that should be a fantastic game.
think it's going to be a fantastic game. I'm really interested to see who ends up winning it, though, because like it went like the completely, the opposite two ways. They've already split, so it's kind of a roll of the dice for me. It's hard for me to bet against Doink, but Shane's come in with that Dolphins team, and they've played super, super fucking well. While Doink's had a really down season compared to last year, so.
And Doink had an early exit last year in the playoffs, didn't he? Did he make it to the championship round? I thought he lost in the divisional. Oh man, if he didn't, I might be lighting a fire under his ass, and I'm sorry if that's the case, Shane. But I do remember being somewhat surprised by. Oh, maybe he made it to the championship. I know he didn't go to the Super Bowl. Did he? Or did he? Ah, shit, I don't know. I just remember that Jonesy won it, to be honest. But either way, we definitely agree that it's been a down year, and he admits that it's been a down year for him. So it'd be fascinating to me if Shane were to win that game and Doink, like you said, it's hard to pick against him. But obviously he's lost this game once. This game that he's about to play, he's lost once, he's won once. So it's at least possible, if not just as likely as he wins, that he loses. And that would be just crazy, considering the way that this league started, how good that team is, and all that stuff. Like, yeah, and Shane says, Doink has a better team for sure. Not the Broncos. The Bills have a loaded team, without question. Has not helped me in alpha, but that's besides the point. Doink's a much better user than I am, and that's a great team. That's like getting the keys to a Ferrari. So we'll see. It's gonna be a good game. Gonna be a one. I mean, all of these playoff games, you should try to make sure you trade him and Jalen Hurts for a bag of Fritos and a backup. All of these games you should try to watch, right? Game streams will be posted, game times will be posted. These are all going to be great games to watch. This one is definitely one of the ones that I have like extra, like a highlight on, because I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup. All right, and then we've got Hive and the Ravens and Pomp and the Titans. And again, interesting, the wild cards in both leagues are, I think would be pretty, like, fairly heavily favored against the 4 seed division winners, like the 5th seed wild card. And
I think that's just because, like, there's in each conference, I feel like there's a weaker division. And you see that in the NFL a lot, where there's like these are teams that aren't, the Seahawks still have a lot of rebuilding to do. The Titans definitely still have a lot of pieces they need to add in game. But they're good enough to win in the divisions that they're playing in, so they're securing these 4 seeds. And I feel like that's why you're seeing quality teams coming in at the first wild card seed.
Right. And that's why you see the teams shake up the way that they do, and the leagues. Man, I don't know. Pomp could just come out and surprise me, because he's played well with that Titans team. They're not great. He's played well with them. I would be surprised if he beat Hive. Just knowing, I mean, that Ravens team is loaded as well, and Hive's a good player. So that, I don't know. What do you think?
I think Hive's going to take that game. I would be very, very surprised to see Hive get bounced right out in the wild card round, especially with that Ravens team and how well he plays with them.
I agree. I'd be surprised by it. All right, well then.
I mean, technically, there's still a way I think that could flip. If I were to lose to Seals and he win, depending on what the tiebreakers are, I could get bumped all the way down to that 5th seed.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Well, shit, you better beat Seals then.
Yeah, that race to the finish isn't over. That game will happen tomorrow night between 8:30 and 8:45 Central when I get home.
Nice. I know. I play
Yeah,
Pomp.
baby.
I don't think. I don't think we're gonna be able to play just because his schedule doesn't line up with mine, and also our game has no implications whatsoever. So he was like, "Hey, my window is like stupid limited," and I was like, "Yeah, it's like he's basically got 2 hours of availability every day, which are prime time availability for normal people, but like in my work zone. So we're both like, it doesn't even matter, because it's not affecting. He's already locked up his division. I'm already not in the playoffs. It doesn't affect anything. He can't get higher than the fourth seed, even if he
I'm
beats me.
thinking I'm ready, Darkness. It's if my defense is ready, man. And like that's where we've been struggling, but I've kind of improved that scheme a little bit and I kind of have gone back to some basics and just, how to play different coverages and stuff like that. I spent a couple hours about a week back just like this is how a cover 6 is supposed to function. This is how a cover 3 is supposed to function and getting that shit back down and then understanding how I'm supposed to play my inside outsides and shit like that. So hopefully that can get fixed up, but at the same time, man, I've been doing that with this team and it's just not going. Put up 50 a game. That's something the offense is capable of. Like, and especially like I've installed a new playbook. I've been playing a lot with it. I've really, really like what I got going. It's not as convoluted. It has 100 less plays than my old playbook did because I didn't need those 100 fucking plays. I don't even need half the shit I still have. But it's good to be able to practice different things and throw monkey wrenches. And I'm feeling confident, but I didn't match up with noobs the best the last time, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, okay. First of all, we're gonna have to talk after this. You have 100 less plays than you could have?
Yeah, I only have 400 plays in my playbook, dude. There's no need for all the filler. You don't run goddamn near half that shit.
I mean, I
Why are you
know.
making it so hard to find shit you like and then missing out on shit you like because you're getting lost in everything?
Yeah. All right. The
No
philosophy
NFL team
there.
has 500 plays in their playbook.
No. 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 Yeah. You're right.
How much of it is filler?
No, you're right.
How
I
much
don't
of it
think
is that play art
no.
looks
I
cool?
get that. But I will say I don't think the direct comparison is even close to fair because Madden doesn't run the way. The thing about an NFL offense is like one play can have so many
See,
different nuances and
there's
shit.
one right there. Agreed. He has 280. He has far less than I do.
Yeah. Right, and like how many? Yeah, because like how many unique plays do you run in? How many plays on offense do you run in a game? Period. Like 50 to 60. Like super high off tempo offenses run like what 80. Like
You're looking at between 40 and 50 in a Madden game,
yeah.
somewhere in there.
So and yeah, so having 500 is kind of pointless. Not the point of this episode, and we should stop talking about this now because this feels like pretty good off-season material.
Yeah, no, for in the off season we should just do it. We should have some couple people on and do like just a philosophy, a
Yeah.
Madden philosophy episode, like how you build shit, how you run your teams, how you
Mm.
manage things, stuff like that. That'd be a good idea for a future episode.
I'm gonna act like I'm writing this down on a notepad that I don't actually have. Or why don't I just write it in my notes on my phone?
Yeah, why don't you actually take it in your notes? You piece of shit.
But first of all, calling me a piece of shit on those grounds is a little strong. I'm not
Yeah,
saying there
whatever.
aren't grounds that you couldn't call me a piece of shit on, but on those grounds,
I do what I want.
not just podcast ideas, shadowboxing ideas.
I just noticed my cat's been chilling behind me this entire time. What's up, Mama? Big scratchies.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. Oh shit. Oh shit. It's. I have a really good idea. We're gonna talk about this as soon as this podcast is over.
Okay. Well, either way, I feel like that wraps
Um,
up. Like, I mean, do we have a direct pick for these games? I'm just gonna go with the confidence. I'm gonna pick myself over noobs.
you're gonna
Um,
beat. Hey, listen. You're gonna beat noobs. You're going to. You've beat them before. The last game was, you played ugly, right? You're not gonna play ugly again. Your team is gorgeous. Like again, talk about the keys to a Ferrari. You got weapons on that team. You just got lost in all the bullshit trying to use them. You've weeded a lot of that bullshit out. You're going to come out. You're going to run effective plays. You're not going to get out of your own head if something doesn't go your way right off the bat. You're not going to come unraveled like I did in this very last game and forget the principles that got you into a winning position if you start to lose a little bit. And you're going to beat him. And that's all there is to it. Bada bing, bada boom. You're playing whoever the worst seed is in the divisional round, or the middle seed, I guess. Not the worst seed, because that's going to go
you
to the Broncos.
just really bada bing, bada boom.
I did. You,
Fucking A.
you put an X there, you put a circle there, boom.
Oh my fucking god! Tough acting, Tinactin.
Tough acting,
Boom.
Tinactin. R.I.P. Coach. Shane, here's
No,
another shot.
R.I.P. Coach. So I'm gonna take Shane over the Bills. I think Doink's had a really rough season, dude, and I think that's gonna come to show in the playoffs. I think Shane will be ready for him. And then I'm gonna take Hive over the Titans. I think
Yeah.
Hive is gonna run through there, and honestly, I could see him making a very deep run.
I agree. I agree with all of it. I do think, man, I think far and away the best games, and maybe this should be the case because seeding being close doesn't really matter when you're talking about the 4 seed for divisions, because again, we've talked about how wild cards play into that. But I think far and away the 2 best games in the playoffs are the both 3 versus 6 seeds, like on either side. I think Rice versus Doc in the NFC is the best slate of those games, and I think that Shane versus Doink in the AFC is the best of those slate of games. I think those are going to be the ones that you can't miss. And yeah, it's tough, but yeah, it's just Shane plays. He just plays well and he plays smart, and I think that he's gonna frustrate Doink because I think he knows, he pays attention. I think he's gonna key on the things that Doink is using to succeed, and also he's playing really well. Like John Toon is just a monster. He's got like a 2-headed monster in that backfield with the quarterback and the running back that's working out really well. And they're it's my favorite thing to have like young players just becoming just like playing like monsters, especially drafted players. It's not like the guys that everybody knows. Like Doink has Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, and that's fun, right? But like, what about these rookies that are like tearing it up? Like these people, these unknown entities, that kind of thing. So it's easier to root for that, anyways. Shane has he said it, number 1 scoring offense in the league, most points by a lot. So, yeah, all right, I'll take him. And here's the biggest thing for me, the trend, right? Like this is something we haven't talked about so much, and I guess this is why I should probably not pick Doc, like at all over Rice. Not that I did, but like I do think that like the trend matters. Like whether like if you build up your momentum going into the playoffs, 100% matters. You don't think it's not going to be on Doc's mind that he lost his last 3 in a row and 5 of his last 6? No, it's absolutely going to be there. I still think he's got the mental fortitude to hang in there with Rice, but it's going to play a factor. And I do think that it's going to, Shane's got momentum, right? He didn't start off on fire. He's just like, he built up to it and he's there now. So, yeah. That's a random tangent I just went on, but yeah. I could see it, especially because I do think you're right. It's going to flip. I do think that home field advantage matters in this game. I think in this game, if I'm expecting it to be close, home field advantage absolutely does matter. And I like that it matters. I kind of hate the randomness. I don't love that the home field advantage effects change, and some of them are just way more influential on the game than others. But um, I really like that. You think that playing in Miami actually helps Buffalo?
It does, because you're not going to have a chance of getting that snow game, which will slow speed and acceleration and all of that
Yeah.
shit.
He did say. Yeah,
Warm weather.
warm weather. To quote Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen gets to put on his comfy shoes. Not a dome game, but still. Yeah. Let me, let me get a hurricane. They tried that once. Wasn't it Dolphins Steelers, that game in Miami where the field was just like everyone was like, "Why the
'cause he
fuck are we
fucking
playing right now?"
punted that shit, dude, and the fucking
Yep.
ball hit the ground
and just went.
ducked.
It was like
Yup.
it was like a fucking mortar shell that was a dud. It just landed and did nothing.
Yo, that was a wild game. That was that Ricky Williams' first game back in Miami? Or like that was his first year back in Miami. I remember he got stepped on in a pile and ended up getting hurt, and that was the end of his season.
That was a trip, man.
Mhm.
I just remember that being one of the ugliest games of football I ever saw played. And it still ranks up there. Ranks up there with the Bills Patriots game from it was last year, right? Where like Mac Jones had like 30 yards passing or some shit like that. The weather was atrocious and like nobody could do anything. That was
Just Mac Jones isn't that good.
well also because it was a fucking blizzard and torrential weather. Like, listen, man, my card chasing Mac Jones 1/1 auto rookie patch shit needs him to be good. So don't put that evil on me, Ricky. Although I don't have any of that. I've got some really awesome Brees Hall and Matt Corral cards who both had season-ending injuries because fuck me. So that's exciting.
Yeah, but Brees Hall's an uptrend. He'll be back, and he's still probably going to be good. I don't know about Matt Corral, though, man. That one, I wouldn't hold your breath on. That's like when
It's
he had that
the-
Drew Stanton auto
I
patch card when we
know.
were kids.
No,
dude.
this is different than that. Drew Stanton was never going to be anything. Matt Corral, I feel like, has a chance. Also, that Matt Corral, have you seen it? That card is so fucking cool.
I've seen it. I watched the stream when you opened it, motherfucker. I
The
watched most of your card ripping streams.
Brees Hall, though, I do think he's got the better career trajectory. That's why I'm not panic selling either of those cards, because I'm just going to hold on to them. I think he's got a legitimate chance to have like a Hall of Fame career. Like,
I would hold. I don't know about that, but I would still hold the Brees Hall one for a little bit. I would sell that like once he's made. Like if he makes a couple Pro Bowls,
yeah.
I'd chip that card. I don't know about Hall of Fame, dude. That's way too early to say that.
No, it's a chance, legitimate chance, right? This early. A lot of players have a legitimate chance.
There's like
right?
400 players in the Hall of Fame. How many players have played in the NFL?
Yeah. Right. Ooh. That's almost another podcast in and of itself. Right off the top of your head, running backs in the NFL right now that are active that you think are Hall of Fame locks. Can you even think of one? Like,
No.
shit, Brees Hall's probably fucked.
No, I can't.
There has to be.
I think the last one that was the one that was last active most recently that I would think is going to get in is going to be Adrian Peterson.
Peterson has to.
Jonathan Taylor, I could ride the Jonathan Taylor upside.
What if he never wins
Possibly.
anything?
Gore would be one of the next ones that's in.
Frank
but
Gore
is
had-
Gore I don't
Yeah,
think Gore's
I don't
active.
think he's active.
He's retired now. I'm talking like active.
Yeah,
active this season.
I don't think maybe Kamara will. Who knows? I mean, there can't be no halfbacks for an entire generation that get in, right? Like, so somebody has to. Who's the best of the halfbacks? I like Kamara. Jonathan Taylor has the upside. What if Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry
I thought about-
is no timeout. I'm gonna fucking say this. Derrick Henry
Oh shit.
gets like fucking 40% of his yards every year in division against bad fucking teams. Look at his statistics, dude. He gets most of his yardage against 2 games a year against the fucking Texans, 2 games a year against the goddamn Jaguars, and 2 games a year against his fucking Colts. I know you can't help who you fucking play, but here's the deal. Like, over the long course, that should even itself out.
It's not going to though. Like his career yardage is going to be insane. And also like so by that logic, there should nobody from like the 50s and 60s should be in the Hall of Fame, right? Because it was so one-sided early. Like when football was young, there were really good teams. There were like 6 teams, right? Like or like just such a small amount of teams. Like as it goes on, of course, teams expanded. But early on, there were a small amount of teams. Some of them were really good for like 10 years, and some of them were really bad for 10 years. They played each other. They like the good teams beat on the bad teams. Like so, you can't. I don't think that you can necessarily say that that's going to be not the question. Sean Alexander.
Well, that's another thing is the usage.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if he flames out from usage either.
Yeah. No. I get it.
I have a problem with everybody crowning this dude, man. When he like, and I get that you can't help who you play, but like,
well, it's also telling that he's utterly worthless if his team is trailing in the second half. Like, and actually, so one of the leagues that I'm in, one of my fantasy leagues I'm in with some friends that like from when I was growing up, like one of them is a Titans fan and he loves Derrick Henry, but is like it doesn't like he can't. He does hold it against him that Henry hasn't worked out like any sort of pass catching ability into his game. He's like he's a running back and that's fine, but like you can't do anything if you're down. Because this team is built around Derrick Henry, and he's not going to help you if you're trying to come from behind to win. And I agree. He's got like moderate pass catching skills at best. But this is a league where Alvin Kamara was brought up by Shane a little bit ago, and Alvin Kamara wouldn't even be considered on his running ability alone. He's a dual threat running back. Christian McCaffrey's the same thing. I thought about CMC earlier, but I don't know because he's been hurt so much. His talent is there, sure, but I don't think that that's a guy that you're going to put in the Hall of Fame. I don't think he'll literally have enough healthy seasons to be in that conversation. And so, Rage, if you're talking about Henry and his receiving yards being the highest they've been this year in his career, you're not still talking about Henry, right? Because it is his fault they don't throw him the ball, because he's not a pass-catching running back. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But, like, he can't, like, Henry is not even close to what a Kamara or a CMC is, or even Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones gets slept on. That man has made some stupid fucking catches for a running back. Look at the tape. But all of that to say, and jeez, we're going to stop talking. This could be a different podcast. I knew it when I said it. I was like, we're about to derail the shit out of this podcast right here. But bringing it back to the point of a Hall of Fame running back, I think that it's too early to tell, but I stand by my point that he's got a legitimate chance, Breece Hall, of being a Hall of Fame running back. Because how can you say he can't, right? Like, and all these young running backs are gonna be in a league that God only knows what's gonna happen. Like, anything could happen. He could, put up the same kind of numbers, right? Plays for the Jets, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, but like he plays for the Jets in a different era. The Bills run that division and their defense sucks. The Patriots are kind of meh. Like, it's not like the Jets of the 2010s. Like,
I'm rolling with darkness here, so we think Brees Hall is going to be better than any of the guys we just named because he had 10 good games.
no, I'm saying he's got the chance to, right? I said, again, I'm saying chance. I think he's got the tools to do, I think he's got the potential to do all of that stuff. Yeah, I do. Is it guaranteed? Not even close. Not even close. But, yeah, I don't know. Shane's going to bed. All right. Have a good night, Shane. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for your contributions. Wine says, don't think he sees any more running backs going. I don't see that. I think I could see less running backs going, but I don't think you'll get to a point where no running backs go to the Hall of Fame because they're just going to get used in different ways, kind of like we've seen Kamara and all those the pass catching running backs and I don't know. I do think that, yeah, and I know, Filthy, you're going to hate this. I think if Henry continues to have, like, monster seasons on the ground, he's going to get in the Hall of Fame. I just think he is. It'll be harder because I don't think he's ever going to win anything. But I don't know how much that actually affects whether you get in the Hall of Fame anymore. Gibbs is the next Kamara. That's a hot take. Antonio Gibbs, I'm assuming you're talking about. Wild card player Eckler. Maybe. All right. No, we're done. We're done. Because this is a different podcast altogether. Like, this is really great. A great topic for another podcast. But we're going to go back into what we're talking about right here. And I fucked us up because I was talking about Brees Hall. So, are we done looking at the AFC? We can run through some stats.
Yeah, I think we could take a look through some team stats real quick.
Okay. Perfect. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to cut you off so hard in chat, but, like, this is great stuff, and I want this. But I want it on a different episode where we don't have shit to talk about and we're trying to fill. Like, because this has been great filler content on a podcast that we don't need filler content for. All right, let's look at the stats. Shane, before you go, if you're still here, can we discuss the Raiders having 4 1,000-yard pass catchers? Fucking absolutely, Darkness. We can do that. That's going to be gorgeous. Shane, are you still here? Oh, he's gone. But I'll pour one out for my homie, you know?
All right. I'm going to say this, and I love you, Darkness. 4th 1,000-yard pass catchers, but a 9-8 record.
Oh. Yikes. He can say that because you're not the viewer in his stream. Here's to you, bud. Shane, have a good night. Take a shot with me, or don't. I don't know. Who knows? He makes a good point. You got to throw to catch up. Holy ballsack. Malik Willis had the 33rd passer rating in the NFL. Jesus Christ. Although, to be fair, there's probably at least 3 people with passer ratings that are higher than him because they're at like 150 whatever because they had like 2 passing attempts and they were
I bet you my
successful.
backup quarterback's one of those off of one game.
Right. So, to be fair,
Yeah.
let's look at. Oh no, let's look at. Okay, all right. Let's look at the team stats or the player stats, but let's look at the Raiders and let's see. I will say, if they had 4,000-yard passing or receiving targets, Derek Carr didn't even have 5,000 yards passing. So that's some insanely good ball distribution. And it is. I will say this much, Darkness. I think I personally had pegged you as a Devontae Adams person. Like, you know, you just get Devontae Adams and you're like, oh, it's fine, I'll just throw it to Devontae. But you didn't do that. Hunter Renfrow had the second most yards and didn't get any touchdowns. Poor guy. He's only 5'10". What can you do? Like, he's got the second most yards, but he's 5'10", and the other receivers that got 1,000 or more are 6'1", 6'6", and 6'5". So he just didn't get any touchdowns. He's like, you can get yards. We'll throw it to you underneath and you'll run. It's fine, but you're not scoring touchdowns. This is a tall man's game. Yeah, and also, hey, shout out to Darkness. Not one of those guys. This is a halfback. We love that. All right, Shane. Have a good night. Rest well. We'll see you tomorrow in some capacity, I'm sure. Wow, and it is like it's so the balance is amazing, and then like nobody else was getting the ball. Like if you weren't one of his top 3 receivers or his tight end,
He said, "Fuck you, Jets by 30." Damn.
that's
I guess I deserve that.
I guess so. Straight to the fuck you Jets by 30. I like that. No hesitation, Darkness. We love to see it. But yeah. Nah, hey, listen. I'll give credit where it's due. Anthony Dell, the rookie, just by that much. 1,003 yards. Oh, he got a rookie wide receiver who's a superstar. Or maybe he got that upgrade. I don't know. Got recuperation for his ability. Yikes. 6'5", 96 jumping, 91 spec catch. Not bad. Not bad at all.
It'll be good.
But yeah, no, that's good stuff. All right, so team stats. You called it out, man. We had to look into it. How do you want to run this? You want to just go by offense, then run through defense?
Yeah, you could do offense, defense, and then I always like to look at the red zone stuff, offense and defense wise.
Yeah, for sure. All right, you want to go ahead and lead us off? I'm going to grab a beer real quick.
Yeah, I mean, the top offense in the league, if we're going to go by, I don't like to go by the total yards gained because that does kick return, punt return, shit like that. So we got the Ravens coming in at number 1 with 6,789 total yards gained on the season. They averaged 34.5 points per game, 4,221 yards through the air, and 2,500 yards on the ground. So he was... Let's see what this is. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The 11th passing offense. But he was the second rushing offense, so that makes sense that it added up the way that it did. So a lot of yards gained on the ground. This is why I picked Hive in the playoffs, is because that offense is clicking. Broncos, though, right behind him, have had a super good offense. Kind of the same deal. They were second in the league in passing this year. Now, the rushing numbers are definitely going to be a little bit lower for them. They come in at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 17th on the rushing, but making up through the air. Points per game. I know I just breezed past him. There's no way I saw points per game is going to be coming in at 33.1. So it's still pretty high up there. But yeah, the Broncos will finish sort by points per game. Yeah, I know you'd come up the second. We'll get to you there.
Yeah.
Aren't you there? Oh, no, you're not. Wow, it actually has you way fucking lower down there. But Shane's scoring a lot of points on that.
He
one.
did
So
say
I
he
thought
was
you said
number
you were
1 in
going
points
to
per
bed.
game, and I just want to throw out, Shane, you're actually number 2 by
Dude.
0.2 points per game. I mean, hey, 0.2 points matter to some women, from what I'm told. But, yeah. Just a little... What is it? What's the fucking, like, the Geico commercial? Was like, gotta be a little bit quicker than that. Oh, man. 50 total points. Nobody cares about total points, man. Like, it's points per game. You might be... Look, and also... Is there a total points? That might be somewhere. No, actually, I don't think that is anywhere, right? Just total points. It probably should be, but... Right. Standing screen. Gotcha. Well, yes, highest in total points should equal highest points per game. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm just looking at points per game, and you're second. You're also only 0.5 points. So it's close. You're a high-scoring offense, my guy. Nobody is arguing that that's not the case. What's interesting to me is how far down you have to go to find the Bills, his opponent. Man, it's been an off year for Doink at 27.4. Not clicking with the high offenses. Yeah, Jonesy's got that weak fucking division with Bloom in it. You gotta fucking give him that bulletin board material. My guy, Bloom is already going up against a Seattle or San Francisco team that he's just wanting to blow out because he has to be a wild card team. And now you're going to say that Jonesy plays in a weak-ass division? Lance or Izzy, whichever one of you wins and has to play Bloom after this episode, I'm sorry. But you can at least blame part of whatever happens to you on Shane for this shit right here. But alright. Back to offensive yards, which we were sorting by. Which I've also said... I mean, I hate offense. I prefer the points per game metric just because I think yards don't mean anything if you're not turning those into points. Well, again, the prime easy example is, like, you get the ball on your own one, you have a 95-yard drive, you get stood up in the goal line, you have to kick a field goal. Nobody cares that you got 95 yards. You only got 3 points.
I mean,
right?
if you wanna sort it by points per game, we can sort it by points per game. I don't care.
I kind of prefer that. Darkness is over here like, hey, Lance and Izzy are good users. Like, yes, right. But I'm just saying, they're good users. I'm not saying that they're not good users. I've seen what Bloom can and has done. And the last thing that he needs is to go into that game with bulletin board material, right? That's what I'm talking about. But Jonesy has that high humming offense, which is 0.2 points per game. Higher than Shane's offense, which has been really good. No question about that. I don't know. Like, I sort of came back and you were in the middle of talking and stuff. Were you in the middle of a point you were trying to make? Or
no.
Okay. We were just going down the list. And it does get really... It's close in this mid-30s range, right? There's a pretty smooth drop. But you've got this... So Jonesy and Shane, and then you're in there at 3, and Hive is there at 4. J. Cruz at 5. That sucks, because J. Cruz is in the playoffs. That's a high-powered offense. We might see why when we go to the defenses. It might be that he's got an insanely good offense, but it's like, not so good on the defense. Darkness with the Raiders, that's another non-playoff team that's scoring a lot, so it will be interesting to see. Bloom, that's a very much a playoff team. He plays good defense too. And we kind of talked about, this was the breakdown last time that Bloom and Jonesy played, right? That, like, Jonesy's more of a big play offense where Bloom is more of a take what you give him kind of offense, right?
Yes.
Okay. And, I mean, 33.3 points per game is not bad for a take what you give me offense too. So, there is that. And then we've got Coach with the Broncos at 33.1. Noobs is there at 32.9. There's a whole lot of, like, really close teams here. And I like that.
Those bunch up pretty hard around that area.
It does. And I don't, like, you don't really see, and I guess that probably just makes sense. You don't really see a really hard drop-off until the bottom 2 teams. And even then, it kind of it goes from like 28, 28, 27, 27, 26, 26, 26, 26, 26, and then 25, 23, 23, 22. So it kind of falls off towards the bottom. I would say the bottom third of the league is kind of like where the hard drop comes. But otherwise, yeah, and I do think it's super interesting if we're looking at points per game then to like look at the splits in passing versus rushing. So Jonesy is a pass-heavy offense, and Shane is like completely the opposite. They're almost mirroring. Although total touchdowns on offense, despite points per game, are lower for Shane, which tells me that he's got more defensive touchdowns, which is something I haven't considered. So their passing and rushing are mirrored, but Jonesy has 7 more touchdowns in the other way, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, in terms of overall offensive touchdowns, Jonesy has 7 more than Shane, but he's only got, like, 0.2 points per game more, which tells me that Shane has a higher scoring defense. Like, in terms of, like, turnovers that he's turning directly into touchdowns, like pick sixes, fumble sixes, things like that. He has to
Yeah,
have
makes sense.
several of those. And then the split's just going down the way. Hive has the most... Actually, Hive has the most potent offense. Period. I think. If you're just going off total touchdowns, he's got 71. He might be tied with Jonesy? Good point, Darkness. That could be field goals, too. Yeah. Never mind. I probably fucked that calculation up a lot. But either way, yeah, it's interesting that Hive sits at the fourth offense, but he's tied with Jonesy for touchdowns. So Jonesy's just, it's probably more field goals. Actually, yeah. And I forgot about field goals. It's that thing that nobody wants their team to get. So we'd all rather have touchdowns, one way or the other. But, yeah. Good call out, Darkness. Field goals probably has a lot to do with this. In terms of, like, thinking it would be defensive touchdown versus just kicking field goals. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess as much as I love, like, talking about points per game, it's almost hard to differentiate these teams because it's so close. You know what I mean? So what are your thoughts?
Goddamn, we got some good offenses.
Yeah. Well, and Jake, if you look at league standing, right, Jay Cruz is 22nd in league standing. He's got the fifth best offense, or at least
but his defense has given up so many points. That's what's hurting him.
Mm-hmm. Points don't mean everything. Clearly.
Not everything. They mean a lot, but not everything.
Well, that was a stupid thing to say. That statement isolated is really dumb. Because points actually do mean everything. If you have more than the other team, you win. That's the only metric at all that determines wins and losses, which is the ultimate goal. So that statement was dumb. Offensive scoring or offensive points generated don't mean everything. Because you could have a mediocre offense and an elite defense and win a championship off of that. That's happened before. So, all that to say, what I'd be interested in seeing is so in Madden, you really don't see a team that's high in league standing that doesn't have high points per game. Like, Wine is third, so he's third in the NFL, and he's sitting at, it's fairly low, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's sitting at 10 in points per game, and he's third in the league, and that's as low as it gets in terms of points per game while still being, like, really high in the league. So it really does seem as though, and this doesn't surprise me because I feel like the league generally has trended this way, offense, or at least scoring, however you can do that, is king. And if you, like, the winning champ, like, I don't think defense wins championships anymore. I think it's, like, I think offense wins championships, and, like, defense secures championships would be the better way to say it. Because you can't have an atrocious defense and bank on winning a championship. But if you have a great offense and an average defense, you can win a championship off of that. So, anyways, I turned this over to you and then hijacked it again. So, truly, this time, what do you think about what we're looking at?
It's just interesting to me to see because, like, you do, like, when you search by points per game, you have a couple of teams up in there that obviously aren't in the playoffs. So I think once we look at this defensive metric here, it's going to really show, like, some of those teams and why they're not there.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Rage just pointed out that he has the most first downs. It's true. Good for him. But yeah, I agree. The real separation that you're going to see, I do think, is going to be defense. And that's where I do think Jonesy's going to have the big edge over Shane.
Well, let's move on to defense then.
Darkness says, ask the Broncos and Jets how their defense is going to win a championship this year. They might. They might. They're
Not
right
the
next to each
Broncos, that's
other.
for goddamn sure. I think he's talking about real life, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, if he's talking about real life, to be fair, the offense isn't winning a championship either. Like, none of those teams. It's atrocious to watch those teams play.
And the Broncos have a decent defense, so do the Jets. It's their offenses that are completely fucking inept.
Right. But again, though, like, if those offenses were elite, those defenses would be fine. Like, then they'd be winning. But the offense just blows. That's the problem. Circling back, that may have been his point the entire time. Like, they have decent defenses. But here, the other thing, too, though, I don't think the defense wins championship mantra fits how well the Broncos or Jets are playing on defense either. I don't hate their defenses, but I don't think they have elite defenses. Like, I just don't. And maybe that's just because I'm only seeing that team losing. Maybe they're losing low-scoring, close games that I'm not just paying enough attention to. But either way, I truly think the last defense that won a championship was probably the Peyton Manning Super Bowl win with the Broncos. I don't know. I could be wrong. Hey, Darkness, maybe they are clamping shit down. I haven't followed a whole lot. I'm pissed off that I haven't followed a lot because I'm not able to just watch games because I'm working all day on Sunday. And also, what I've followed from my own Packers has not been something you want to follow. It's been bad. The Packers could have been eliminated from the playoffs last night if they had lost because the Lions won on Sunday. And that single sentence made me throw up in my mouth a little bit. The Broncos would be 9-1 or something if they scored 17 points per game.
That's fucking wild.
That's bonkers as hell. I think my favorite stat, and it correlates with that, was that I forget which quarterback had as many touchdowns a couple weeks ago as Russell Wilson, and they hadn't played since week 5. I was like, holy shit. Russell Wilson's been fucking bad in Denver. Could you imagine? Broncos fans, and I work with a couple of them, are losing their fucking minds. Because, that makes sense, right? The defense is playing so well. If the offense could do literally fucking anything. If that offense could just ride a red tricycle, they'd be 9-1. But alright. We've talked about offense a lot. You want to talk about defense?
Yeah, let's get it done.
I know you want to talk about defense. Oof. And that's why I'm just seeing now why the Cardinals and J. Cruz, God rest his soul, aren't better despite their points. So I don't love... it's a simple ask. If we can sort by points per game on offense, why can't we sort by points per game on defense?
You can by searching points and how many they've given up.
Right, but but it's different, right? You can... I get that those are the same thing, but they're not really the same thing. Because I want to equate numbers, right? So it won't just give me total offensive
Cardinals
points.
are giving up 36 points per game.
Okay, there you go. Wait, but how do you know that?
By taking 621 and dividing it by 17 games.
So you have to use a separate fucking calculator app to make that math work. I get... Okay, alright, let me paraphrase. Filthy's sick of my shit about bitching, right? And maybe the rest of you are too. I just... why can't that just be the same one way or the other between offense and defense? That's all I'm asking, so I don't have to actually go to my phone and look for it. You can sort of get the same numbers, but, it'd be nice to have an exact, this is 33.4 points per game is scored, but they're giving up 43 points per game on defense. That makes more sense to me than does, sorting points total for defense, but points per game for offense. Yeah, Russell Wilson has more toilets in his house than passing touchdowns. I want to believe that that's true, and I actually think it could be. So, like,
It more than likely is.
18 sacks in the 18-game season, 16 sacks in the 18-game season. That's a low amount of sacks, but you'll get there. It's fine. But yeah, in terms of like the lowest and the worst defenses, in terms of the best defenses, let's look. So, Hive is up there. He had the least amount of points scored. Also was tied for the most total touchdowns. So, and also an obnoxious amount of interceptions. Oh, I had a really good defense this year. Shit, man. That's how fucking bad my offense was. Bro, we're before this next season, we're going to talk. Like, we're going to have a night where we would normally do this, but it's just going to be you and me talking about how I can fix my fucking offense. Because if I can do that shit, bro, like, my defense this year was good, and I knew that because I played in games. It's the same thing. Like, it's all my games. Like, I'm losing fucking 21-24 games, shit like that. Like, we're not getting this, but like, if I can fix the offense, man, the defense, like, I feel like I'm playing bad, but I'm still not giving up a bunch of points. So it's like even if I feel like I'm not playing well on defense, like I'm playing well enough to win if I could just fucking do anything on offense. So all that to say, the Ravens gave up a very low amount of points on defense, and there's Bloom as well, right? So Jonesy gave up not 100. 362 to 411 is just like 49 points more. So that's where their split is. And I'm fascinated by that rivalry in that division. But either way, so Hive has all those, like, is pretty good in offense. He's tied for the most total offensive touchdowns and also has like the best points defense in the league. So I think that sets him up very well. I think it's fascinating to me that the two best defenses in the league are the two top wild card seeds, right? Hive is the number one wild card seed in the AFC. Bloom is the number one wild card seed in the NFC. And those two guys are going to play. Hive plays Pomp, and then Bloom plays either Izzy or Lance, depending. Doc is coming into the playoffs with the third best defense in the NFL, despite the horrible losing streak that he's had. He's got a really good defense, and what's interesting is you have to scroll a few times more down before you see his opponent in Rice. So we'll see what happens there. I do think it's interesting the trend that you see in terms of like fumbles and interceptions for these teams that are not allowing points, right? Like, it's so high and it starts to go down.
Well, that's because they're getting turnovers.
Right. That's how you.
But that's
That's
why
how
they're
you
not
stop.
allowing the points.
That's how you stop points from being scored, right? All right. So we are seeing some different. Actually, you see a fairly strong flip of the script. Not entirely, but like you start to see differences versus the points per game when you're looking at defense, right? Hive is one of the people that had some crossover. Bloom is one of the people that had some crossover. And so those are two teams that I'm actually now thinking, like, shit, do I go back and like rethink the predictions that I made? I wouldn't necessarily, because we both picked Hive and Bloom to make it out of the wild card round. But you start to think about, like, where are those teams going to look next, like, round? Like, should they maybe be favored more than they are right now? Rage says it's going to be way different looking Chiefs team come next year. Let's just say that, and that's fair. That's fair. Hey, Rage, that's a fair thing to say, and we'll see about it next year. But for right now, bud. Sorry about it. No insult meant whatsoever, but this is a playoff episode. I'm glad you're here, and I'm pretty confident we'll be talking about you next year when we record this episode.
Yeah, I mean, he barely missed out.
Right,
He
right.
was right on the cusp. So it'll be interesting to see
Dumpstered the
another full
fuck out of
season.
me, which is not necessarily some sort of bar I should be talking about in a playoff episode quite
No,
yet.
right.
But still happened. So yeah, I do think that I love that there's different actors in the defensive points, right? Like you've got Pomp with the Titans. That was his whole thing, right? Like when he traded Malik Willis to me, he wanted defensive presence. Like he said he was like, I'm a defensive user, man. Like I'm just trying not to allow points. Like the offense is what it is. Like, and he succeeded. The 5th best defensive for points allowed.
Yep. All the way to a 10-6 record. And
yeah,
tops
in the
that
playoffs,
division.
right? Yeah. He did what he said he was going to do. The Titans are who we thought they were because they told us they were that. And then coach with the Broncos, really good defense along with that insanely good offense. And then there's Jonesy, who has the number 1 offense and the 7th best defense. So, I mean, yeah, the 1st offense and the 7th defense, that's a good recipe to win a lot of games. And he has, and I'd expect that to continue. The 8th best defense is a team that's not represented in the playoffs. The 9th best defense. Wait, at 11-6? Rage is missing? That is crazy to me. That's nuts. 11-6 would get you Rage. By the way, if you played in the NFC, you'd be in so hard at 11-6. It's just the AFC is fucking brutal. Wine's up there with a really good defense as well, and then Rice as well. I think that's 10. We're just gonna say it's 10. It might be 11. And then you get a bit of a jump, right? So Hive is far and away best on defense. And then Bloom is up there too, and then there's a jump to Doc. And then there's a bit of a jump to me. And then the jump gets more incremental as you go down, right? Pomp is a little worse on defense than I am. Coach is just a little worse than Pomp, very slightly. Jones is worse than him, and then it's just incremental, like 5 points total or 6 points total between these teams until you get to Rice, and then there's another significant point drop down to Doink. And then it gets a little clumped up again, and then there's a bit more. So it does feel like there's that top, like, wherever this first, like, drop is, like, from Rice to Doink, it feels like there's that middle section, and then there's, like, that elite, like, that top, like, 2 or 3, you know?
No, I could agree with that 100%. I mean, just by looking at it, although it kind of makes me like more interested in like what we were talking about a few minutes ago, like the defense meaning less, dude, with some of these high-powered offenses.
Yeah. No, I agree. And to me, it's... I think it has to be that, because, like, so I'm not in the playoffs. Top 5, like, points allowed on defense. Not in the playoffs. Noel is also top 10. Not in the playoffs. Rage, top 10. Not in the playoffs. Good defenses. Didn't... Yeah, so it says this stream died, Rage. And I think the stream just like crashed and reset. Although Streamlabs isn't telling me that. And when I clicked at the browser, which my stream is up so that I can always check what viewers are seeing, and it was up. I don't know what happened. But either way, we're just talking about like the defenses that aren't represented in the playoffs, despite being like top 5, 10, what it is in defenses in the league, by the way,
Mhm.
right? Like this isn't by conference, this is by league. So like as I was saying, I was fourth in defense, not in the playoffs, in terms of points per game, or just total points allowed. A Noel was, I think, like eighth, ninth, or 10th with Rage and the Chiefs, just not even represented in the playoffs. And so I do think that that lends heavily to the argument that offense is more important than defense. Because, and Wine says he's not responsible for 8 of those games, and that's fair and that's true. So I don't know. Maybe what he's saying is that next year, when he gets a full year with that team, he's gonna be number 1 in defense. I assume that's what you're meaning, because you already had a good defense and you weren't even responsible for 8 of those games. But either way, like, yeah, I do think the narrative has to be that offense is just better than defense, because there's, like, I just brought up 3 users that aren't in the playoffs that are in the top, like, 10 or maybe 11 in defense in the league. And there's, 14 teams that make the playoffs, right? Because there's 7 seeds for each conference. So, yeah, offense definitely has to be the breadwinner when we're talking about Madden. And probably in real life, too. I don't think that's such a far deviation from the way that things actually play out in real life. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, kind of just echoing the same thing you said, man. Like it plays out a little bit differently in the game than what you tend to see in real life, but it's going to be an interesting playoff run for a lot of these teams. But I'm not going to lie, I wasn't expecting to look at the defensive stats and see some of these teams that aren't even in the playoffs being this high up. But I mean, it goes to the flip, though. If you go back to offense, you're going to see them that low down, too, or at least in the middle of the pack.
Gotcha. Oh, shit. Rage, thank you so much for the sub.
Hey, Rage with the sub, man.
He says he got an ad. That's as server purpose, I guess. If you want to watch this podcast and not get interrupted on what we're saying, you could just subscribe. that's an option. Dude, I'm sorry. Like, I'm genuinely sorry that an ad fucking blocked your watching this. I appreciate the sub. Seriously, I do. I'm so sorry that an ad blocked what you're saying. What we were saying, just to recap it, was that like we were both surprised by seeing some of the points in terms of defense. The points that like good defenses in terms of points allowed that weren't represented in the playoffs, versus if you sort by points per game on offense, it's like all those teams at the top are in the playoffs. But if you sort by just total points allowed, which would be the same if you were sorting by points per game on defense, it's just like a different way to measure it. It's not as representative. And so we were just kind of talking about that. And Rage, you were 100% one of the players that was in there. Like, and like I even said, at 11-6, you'd be a cakewalk in the NFC. You'd be in the playoffs without question. But the AFC's just harder that way. And so 11-6, that's a brutal record to not make the playoffs with. That's awful. Like, like to not make the playoffs? Like normally you don't make the playoffs at like back when it was a 16-game season, 8-8, 9-7, and then it sucked because you had a high draft pick but you didn't make the playoffs. This man went 11-6 and didn't make the playoffs. Like he's drafting at like 20 or some shit. And like it didn't make the playoffs.
It's gonna be like the highest out of all of them.
Yeah. So, Rage, much respect on your name, brother. Like you did what you could. Like that's just a tough draw. But again, and Noel, really good points. Like again, we won't go through all of it again, but like the point being, and what Filthy was saying was that he was really surprised to see defensively the way that things stacked up in terms of points allowed versus teams that were in the playoffs. Because you would have expected these teams that were closer to the top to be in the playoffs just based off defensive play alone. So, but yeah, thank you so much for the sub. I'm really sorry that the ad blocked you. For the record, I looked into just disabling ads. I really did, because I don't make this content for money. Like, the money's nice, it's fine, it's whatever, but I also don't make shit off of ads anyways. I try to just disable ads altogether. And if you want to sub, then fine. Like, I'll get money that way. But, like, I make the content to make the content. You literally can't disable ads on Twitch. And, yeah, that's all I have to say. So, I'm sorry if an ad blocked what you were watching. I appreciate this sub, seriously. Thank you. I appreciate that you don't mind subbing. But, getting back on track, yeah, I think that kind of wraps up talking about the stats and whatnot. Yeah, you just mentioned that you kind of were surprised a little bit by the defensive stats in terms of who's represented in the playoffs and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's just surprised. I didn't think it was gonna end up panning out that way. Like, I thought we'd see a couple of those, but like not the good majority of it.
Right. So it really does seem like this is an offense or bust league. Like, maybe you gotta, like, it looks like there's a lot of high scoring offenses with pedestrian defenses, and those are the teams that are winning, and that's fine. They made it to the playoffs. Anything could happen then. All right, I think we're pretty much wrapped up.
Yeah,
I want to cover awards. I don't want to now, though, because those will get changed by the end of whenever this finishes.
yeah, we have one more week where those could be affected.
Right. There's still more games to be played. All that shit's going to change. So, yeah. All right, well. Do you have any closing thoughts before we head into the playoffs here in TSR?
Now my closing thoughts are, man, I'm really happy we're getting through the second season, moving into the playoffs. I think we have the right group of guys in here now. So I feel like things should be really, really good moving forward. I can't wait to see what year 3 and going forward brings.
I'm really excited for the draft since we get to have one now. Of course I say that because I'm a team that's not in the playoffs, so it's like, what do I have to look forward to? The draft. But no,
Not your first round pick because you don't have that.
I don't. That's right. Fuck. What do I even have? Who knows? Maybe I can trade it in the first round. We'll see. Maybe. Probably not. But either way, no, I'm like I've said, I'm actually, like, all jokes aside, I'm really excited to see some of these matchups. I'll tell you this. So I watch games if I'm available. My schedule doesn't normally make me available when people play, but these playoff games, I'm going to watch them. Like, make sure that you guys have your archiving on so that it just saves your streams and shit. Because I'm going to go back and watch these playoff games. I really want to do that. Like, these are marquee matchups. And in a way that, again, I've never done this before. I've never gone out of my way to watch games that have already been played unless they were, like, championship games, maybe in a Super Bowl. And even that shit, sometimes I've skimmed. But, like, this playoffs that we've got set up, I really want to watch all of these games if I can. So I'm going to watch them, or I'm going to watch the VODs that you guys have on your Twitch channels. So please make sure that you've got that shit set up, because I want to see that, and I know the rest of the league will want to see it as well. Exactly. Like Rage is saying too, he's in the same boat, right? Stoked to watch the playoffs and get in the off season. This is going to be a fun run, and we're going to be here talking about it one way or the other. So, yeah, I'm here for it. I'm excited for it, and I can't wait to see what these games are going to give us. All right, so closing up, any final thoughts that you want to add to the podcast, or you feel like you're all set?
Yeah, I feel like I'm set, man. Kind of gave my final thoughts right before that.
All right, fair enough. Same, honestly. So get those games played. Obviously, that goes without saying. I do you think that we have the real blessing of not having any like force wins or losses in the playoffs, right? Because I know we had a couple last year, and that was just outside of people's control. But I think this year it's all going to be games played, and I'm looking forward to it. And realize there is still the rest of Week 18 to sort itself out, so we're not playing these games like tomorrow or anything. But these games are coming up. I know that there will be some delays to the advanced schedule due to the holiday season. I guess we should check. I'll check really quickly to make sure that there's not going to be an advance. So advance is slated. I guess I don't know that there's going to be delays for the holiday season. I assume there will be. I don't know. But advance is slated for Thursday. Depending on when games get played, wouldn't be surprised to see it advance a little bit sooner. Maybe tomorrow night. Who knows? But advance is slated for Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, which would put us into the playoff round. I have no idea what's going to happen with those games if it happens then. I'm just trying to, like, on the spot think about when we'll record next, because I know we want to record during the playoffs if possible. We'll figure that shit out. But a lot of whenever we do our next episode of Shadowboxing is going to kind of depend on the advanced schedule into the playoffs and how many games get played. And also our own personal schedules around the holidays. So, all of that to say, we will definitely be doing whatever we can to record during the playoffs, even if it's a shorter episode to just talk a little bit about what's going on. I really want to stay on top of what's going on in the playoffs, and I'd love to make content around it, even if it's in a much more short form than we typically do this show. And if we have the option to do a full-length show when it's appropriate, then obviously we'll do that as well. And also, my best friend and constant co-host has a baby on the way that could literally show up any moment, so...
Yeah, that could happen at any point in time, and then, yeah, it'd be a little bit harder to record.
I am mentally preparing myself to do whatever episode solo, because, like, it's gonna happen eventually. But we'll figure that out when we get to it. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, so... yeah. Well, with all of that said, thank you so much to everybody that joined us. We had a ton of people in chat. Rage, Darkness, Wine, Shane. Scrolling up to try and make sure I don't miss anybody, but I might miss somebody while like the three of you were like the main ones that like blew up the shit up out of the chat. Hive was here as well. So thank you guys so much to coming in for this stream. I will make sure that I have been recording this particular VOD in case somebody doesn't want to like... And actually, the stream had a pretty hard reset too, so I could probably just post that as well. But either way, thank you so much to everybody that watched the stream. If you're watching the VOD, I hope you enjoyed the content. Especially this time of year, please do be thinking about the people that are less fortunate than you. There's a whole lot of ways to take care of other folks. So I always end all of my personal podcasts, streams, whatever it is, by saying be sure to take care of yourselves, and if you can, take care of someone else as well. I've never once asked Filthy if he was okay with me ending with that, but I think it's a sentiment we both share. So, again, I'll say it. Please be sure you take care of yourself, because you have to take care of yourself, and if you can, and not everyone can, but if you can, if you have the means to, please do take care of someone else as well. Because you never know who's going through what and who could use a helping hand this time of year. So, for myself, J-Dog, for my best friend and constant co-host, Filthy, we thank you guys so much for watching this, for supporting us. Please do let us know how we did tonight, as always. And until next time, have a great night.
Have a great night, guys.